Are you tired of juggling multiple browser tabs for your coding projects? What if I told you there's a way to bring the power of online IDEs right into a coder, Visual Studio Code? You can forget about switching windows and instead you can say hello to streamlined, efficient workflow. They'll supercharge your development. And today we're diving deep into Augment Code. It has a free option as an extension within Visual Code, Studio Code, and it allows you to replace Replit, Lovable, or both. And it may just be the tool you've been looking for. Augment Code seamlessly integrates with Visual Studio Code. It offers a range of features that mimic all the popular online IDEs, but straight from your desktop. We're talking about things like instant project creation, built-in terminals, even collaboration features, all without leaving the comfort of your desktop. So the best part is because they currently offer a free version in the community, up to 50 agents, which is a lot of agents. When you think about a Replit, it's similar to like a check-in on Replit. So 50 check-ins would be a lot. And if you're like me and you want to use it on an ongoing basis, I use it quite a bit. For $30 a month, you can upgrade to the developer option. And as you can see right now, it has unlimited agents, chats, completions, instructions, edits, and support. So it is, in a sense, a no-brainer if you really want to work from your desktop in Visual Studio Code instead of one of the online options. Make sure you stick around until the end. We're going to test this out and do a little test drive with Augment Code and build a real app in real time so you can see just how it works. If you're interested in all things vibe coding, no coding, low coding with AI, not just to play, but to actually use it to build apps you can sell and a business that you can count on, make sure you like and subscribe here and follow our channel. So I choose Augment Code over some of the online options. One is if you're familiar with working within an IDE like Visual Studio Code, you know that it's highly customizable. You can tailor it to your own experience, and Augment Code is the same way. You can tailor it with themes and fonts and extensions, so on and so forth. The next thing, of course, is because it is not online, you have offline capabilities. So depending on how Augment Code handles your project storage and execution, there may be some ways of working offline when you don't have the ability to be online or you don't care to be online. These are things that browser-based solutions, of course, just can't do. And then the integration with the workflows themselves. There's a seamless integration for Augment Code projects into your existing, let's say, Git workflow or using other Visual Studio Code tools. So in my case, I use Augment Code. I'll often use Klein. I will use Docker and a newer product called Continue. Because I use all of those, I put them all into Visual Studio Code as extensions, and they work seamlessly with each other. So I can build code on one, I can examine code on another, I can spruce it up and check for errors on yet another without having to grab my code and taking it somewhere else and taking a look at it there. So is it the perfect solution for everybody? No, probably not. First of all, if you don't like the idea of using Visual Studio Code and how it works, then this is going to be an issue for you because it is tightly integrated with it. Number two, the internet dependency. I mentioned that you can do a lot of things offline, but not everything can be done offline. And some things you do need an internet connection to complete. Third, it may be today it's a newer product, doesn't have every single feature that a more robust Replit may have. Now, at the same time, you can make up for that by using other extensions. But if you want a be-all, end-all, does everything extension, that might be more difficult. The great news is you can plug and play other extensions that do the extra pieces you need and have some more flexibility from there. The learning curve, I wouldn't even call it a con or a holdback because it's pretty simple, but there is a little bit of learning to go along with it. No more than your online IDEs. And then lastly, you need to think about the system that you're running on. This is not a lightweight tab in a browser, so it is going to use system resources. Most modern systems are going to have no problem with it, but something to keep in mind, we're not running a Chromebook here. You're going to need a little bit more than that to run Augment Code with. but not a ton. So let's get started. We'll do a demo in a minute, but let's get it set up on our system first. First thing you should do, and I didn't actually mention this ahead of time, if you don't have Visual Studio Code, well, then you're going to want to get it. And you can just head over to Visual Studio Code, download it. It will auto-detect your system. Once you've done that, you can come over to Augment Code and register. Just sign up for an account. And as I mentioned before, when you set up your account, come on down here, you'll notice there's a community option. And so you can pick the community option to get started. You've got those 50 agents, unlimited instructions, and a whole bunch of chat messages to go along with that. So I would recommend that first. If you grow out of it, then of course you can do the developer option after that. And then once we have our account, we're going to pop back in here into Visual Studio Code. I already have the extension running, but if you come to the little bricks, those are the extensions. You can come over here and type in Augment Code, and you'll see up here, yours will have an install button. Click on that. It will install Augment Code, and you will be pretty much ready to go. It's going to ask you to sign in, and you'll do that, and then that'll finally bring you to this page. Keep in mind, when we talk about vibe coding, of course, you may be starting from scratch with a brand new app and a new idea, and you want to go through that classic process of typing in, build me an app that does this, and it creates it, and you iterate, and you fix, and you build, and you go on, so on and so forth. But because Augment Code is in your IDE, built into your system, it also makes it very easy to grab existing code bases and do things with it. So you'll notice here that we can create a new project, or we can open local folder, or we can clone a repository from Git. What's the benefit of that? In another video, I walk through how to use things like VO from Vercel to build a pretty front end and then code out the actual application from there. In this case, you could grab that code. If you've committed the code to Git, you can come over here and clone that repository from Git. And now you can bring up the code here and build a backend. No downloading, uploading, doing other things, all very simple. If you happen to have it downloaded, you can use the open local and grab your code from there and work with it. We're not going to start there. We're going to start with a brand new project and walk through exactly what it does from that. We'll build a very quick app here just to see how Augment works. To try it out, test it out. You can see it in real time how it builds. And I've created a prompt ahead of time, but basically what the prompt is saying, let's build out a single web page to-do list. So we're going to have an add button. We're going to have the lists, all those types of classic things that to-do list would have. And I'm also going to spell out that we want it to be in HTML and JavaScript. Just like any of these tools, Augment's the same way. If you don't spell out the tech stack you're going to use for it, you're going to find yourself often going down the road of building things out with tools that are way over what you need them to do. This is a very simple app. We're going to make a couple changes, but we're going to start from there with it. So let's go back over to Visual Studio Code. We're going to give it a name for our app to do. That's very creative. You'll see here, it's going to ask to index our code base. If there is an existing code base, it would look through the code to understand what it's looking at ahead of time. We don't have to worry about that today. Now, like I said, there's a little bit of a learning curve. It is really small when it comes to Augment Code, but I do want to walk through what it does. First of all, down here, it tells you the context. And what that means is what are we, when we type something in the box here, what are we referring back to? In this case, it's the project folder named to do. Because we are building apps out and we can code directly in this IDE, we can dig deeper into individual files we're working on and ask it to do things or ask questions about those individual files. As those files are referenced and show up, they will show up down here. So we know that when we chat, we're not chatting about the whole big project. We're chatting about these individual items that we're looking at the moment. That helps us keep context of what we're asking about, but also the context for Augment to know what it is it's supposed to be working from. So that's the first piece, just that context at the top. Then we have down here chat, and you'll see we have chat, agent, or auto agent. Chat allows us to have a conversation, just like you would with ChatGPT and that type of thing, so we can talk about things. And what I use it for a lot is I'll ask, here's the project I want to work on. what is a good tech stack for that? And we'll have a conversation back and forth. It'll tell me that. In here also, you can use the chat to actually build the code, but not put it in the files yet, just to see what it would look like. And then you can commit it to the files and it would show up there. So that's what the chat does. Feel free to play with that. It's a very useful tool to stay within the one tool instead of having to pop back and forth to Claude or ChatGPT or something and come back. Now, the other two are Agent, which is what you'd expect in your Replit, your Bolt, and your Lovables, where you're talking to it and it goes and builds out things for you. The Agent itself, when you choose Agent, as you see here, it requires approval for some tools. So as it's building, it may stop and say, can I do this? Can I save this file? Can I run this command in the terminal? And it'll do that. And then you also have Agent, which is Auto Agent, that is just going to run everything that it can. Two more quick items to learn about Augment. So there are very few items, really, when you think about it. We've got like 4 here. We do have a paperclip, so we can add files in there, whether it's references of screenshots or other files that we want to use within our project. You can bring those in, and the tool will use those. And then there is a slash button for shortcuts. And you'll see here we can do things like find this, explain this, fix this, so on and so forth. So we can get down into the individual items we're looking to do in a quicker method than doing like a natural language question and answer thing. And that really is pretty much it when we get started. So what we're going to do is we'll switch over here to the Auto Agent, and I'm going to paste in that prompt that we had earlier. We are going to let it run, hopefully in real time. So you'll see, just like when you're using your Replits and those types of things, it starts to build things out. It automatically launches my terminal so that it can do some work down here. It's going to tell me what its plan is. At this point in time, if we weren't using Auto Agent, after the plan, it would ask us if this is what we'd like to do. Because I said Auto Agent, it's going to run through and create each of these things. And just like any flat HTML site, you have HTML, you have a script file, and you have the styles file, and you have the app. That was all at real time. I didn't edit, stop, or anything in between, and it built the app for us and launched a new window with it. So I'm going to do a task of build the world's best new app. That'll be on my to-do list. I can add it, and there you go. It added that in there. That's pretty much the basics of what it takes to build it and how quick it builds it. You'll see when it gets done, it'll give you a summary. It'll tell you how to use it and instructions, which I think we probably could have figured out, but it was nice of it to provide that to us. It also shows us what it changed in the files. I wrote 128 lines of code that I'm going to save in there. So we got our basic app. I'm going to give it one more quick prompt here, and I'm coming back over to what I've written up ahead of time. And that is, I'm happy with what I've got there, but I want to add a backend, meaning I want to be able to store the information so that when I come back next time, my tasks are still there. So if I close the browser and I come back, I still want to be able to see my tasks. So I'm giving it some information about what I want it to do. I want it to set it up. And I'm going to paste that in there too and ask it to do the next steps in the process. So it's going to create a simple Node.js backend with Express.js. I don't want to miss this because unlike when you're on your browser and all the dependencies, other things that you need to be using to run some of these tools, some on your desktop need to be installed. And one of those is Node.js. So what I would recommend is if it says it's going to use Node, it will come through and tell you the instructions. But just so you know, you're going to need to go over to the Node.js website and be able to, it'll give you instructions over here, how to download and install Node on your computer so that you've got it. It's a one-time deal. Most of your apps are going to use that. And so it's a useful tool to have. So I recommend going over there, getting that if it asks for it. Like I said, it'll give you instructions if you don't have it over here in the side panel to do that for you. And now it's done running. I did edit this part just so you know. I think it took it about, I just didn't time it exactly, but about 3 minutes to run through and build the pieces of the process out. You'll see here, it goes through and it's going into our terminal over here and running commands so that it can set up that database for us so that we have persistent local information. So our tasks get saved and you can see what it runs through, and you can see everything it does if you're trying to see what's going on while it's running. And it shows you if it's finished with it or not. So you've got all that info over there. Once it's done running, it tells us what it did, which is a great way to learn a little bit more about code and how the structures of these apps work. And then on the back end, it tells you how to use it. So you're going to want to run npm start. That's part of the Node.js package, and it'll do that. It ran it for us, but it just wants to let us know about it. And it tells us where on our local browser that is running. If you bring it up and you have it running here and you close this window accidentally, you can always come back here and click this, basically, after it's running. Now we can come back here and look at the app. You'll see it added in buy groceries as a sample. I'm going to add in get tacos. And it's not even Tuesday. I'm crazy. And that adds in the pieces for our application. If I close that down and I go back over here and I hit that local host again, you'll see after I close the app, it now has persistent data. It's storing that info for me, and it has the get tacos in there. And that is building apps for free with Augment Code. It's really that simple, and it's really that free. If you are interested in just getting started out, or maybe even intermediate with using AI tools for coding to build businesses and to build apps that serve a purpose, I would recommend heading on over to our site, launchwithvibe.com. From there, you've got 3 specific options. You can start by grabbing our ebook. It's about a 32-page ebook that runs through the very specific items you need to do to come up with ideas for apps that serve a purpose. So not just playing, but actually doing something. From there, if you can grab our book, it's Catch the Vibe, and it's a 450 plus some odd page book that runs you through every step of the process when it comes to vibe coding, before even coming up with ideas, through validation, through testing, through marketing, and everything all the way up to selling the app or business to somebody else, if that's what you choose to do to exit in the end. So it goes step by step through all those processes, which is why it's 450 pages. Don't have to read the whole thing at once, but it gets you everything you need. If you want a more hands-on approach, then make sure you join our community. In there, we have an 8-week program along with weekly coaching calls and a community of supportive folks that can talk you through each of the steps in the process when it comes to vibe coding. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you like and subscribe below to get more videos on how to code with AI tools, but also how to create businesses and apps that serve a purpose that people will actually want and use.